Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Evil Green Ranger 1 speaking, and today I'm doing a double review. That's two reviews rolled into one. Except that these two have almost nothing to do with each other, aside from the fact that they are both considered science fiction. Part 1 of the review is of a Doctor Who audio, The Chimes of Midnight, starring Paul McGann as the Doctor, and India Fisher as Charlie. On the back cover reads, "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, but something must be stirring, something hidden in the shadows, something which kills the servants of an old Edwardian mansion in the most brutal and macabre manner possible. Exactly on the chime of the hour, every hour, as the grandfather clock ticks toward midnight. Trapped and afraid, the Doctor and Charlie are forced to play detective to murders with no motive, where even the victims don't stay dead. Time is running out, and time itself might well be the killer." Right, so, I gotta say, Chimes of Midnight is probably my all-time favorite 8th Doctor and Charlie stories. Bear in mind, I've only heard about 2 or 3 of them, but it is so cool. Maybe it's because of the Christmassy theme to it. I don't know. But if you ever get the chance to listen to Chimes of Midnight, I suggest that you do it. Because it is one of my favorite stories ever. It's disturbing. At least to me, it's disturbing. But it's cool at the same time. I absolutely love it. It's very dark for a Doctor Who episode. It's sort of like... I'm almost surprised it's not like one of the series 1 through 4 Stephen Moffat episodes, back when Moffat used to write really dark storylines. But, yeah, it was written by Robert Sherman, and, yeah, it is so cool. Very good stuff. I love Charlie, I really do, and the 8th Doctor is probably my favorite audio Doctor. My favorite Doctor in the audio series. I know that my favorite original Doctor, and by that I mean Doctor from the original series, is Peter Davison. But my favorite Doctor in the audios, Paul McGann actually surpasses Peter Davison in the audios, in my opinion, at least. So he's really cool. Sorry that my thing is moving around so much. Right, so we're moving on and going into a different room. So, excuse me for one sec whilst I walk from my room to the front, because I left the other piece that I'm going to be reviewing in my living room. I'm really excited for this one. It's a book that I recently started rereading. I'd read it once already, but I started rereading it recently. And this book, it's a sequel, sort of. It's a manga, actually. Not a true manga, because it's not back to front, but it is done in the form of a manga. So, I don't know, maybe some of you will consider it a manga, but to me a manga is where you read it from, to where what we would consider the back cover is after the front cover, and it's bound the opposite way, and such as that. I'm talking, of course, about Return to Labyrinth. This is only part 1, of course. I'm only doing a review of part 1, but Return to Labyrinth. Basically, it's been about 10, maybe 13 years since the end of the movie Labyrinth, and Toby is now in high school. Jareth has been watching him and has decided to have Toby become the new Goblin King to replace him once he dies. Although I didn't know Jareth could die. I thought Jareth was immortal, but shows what I know, doesn't it? Anyway, I think part 1, which is the only one that I'm reviewing right now, I may later decide to review parts 2, 3, and 4. Part 1 is the best, in my opinion, because it sets up the entire story. It sets up Jareth. It sets up where Jareth is, where Sarah is, where Toby is, everything. It's fantastic. Funnily enough, I got part 1 last. Yes, and I know that that sounds funny, but part 1 is actually the last of the Return to Labyrinth books that I got. It's the first one that I read, of course. I didn't want to read it out of order or anything like that, so I had a long wait to read any of Return to Labyrinth. And it's a brilliant book. Well, part 1 is. Parts 2, 3, and 4 are okay. They're not my favorite, but they're okay. So, it's a cool story, though. Sadly, Jareth and Sarah do not meet up until, I think, part 2. End of part 2 into part 3, maybe. But that's alright. The story's great. It really is. I wish they'd make it into a movie, of course. Jennifer Connelly would be old enough. So would David Bowie. And they could just find some new actor to play Toby. I'm not sure if the baby that played Toby in Labyrinth is still in acting or not. He might be. But, whatever. It's really cool. Although they might not be able to say 10 years later, they might have to say 20 years later because it was 1987. So, actually, it'd be almost 25 years later now that I think about it. I said 87, 97, 26 years later. Alright, so 26 years later. But still, a 25th anniversary, well, last year, 25th anniversary, would have been cool. But that's alright. Anyway, I know that this was a more simplistic review than my last review, but yeah. I'm just gonna end this real quick. If you've got something to say about Return to Labyrinth, any part of it, specifically part 1, but any part of it, drop me a comment in the little comment box down there. And have a good day. We'll see you around.